Well, hello, everybody. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Corliss,
Here.
Halliburton, Morales,
Here.
Nash, Stead,
Here.
Willits.
Here.
4 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. First up, we've got Stacy Doty with your 90-day report. Can't believe it's been 90 days. It'll be on in a second, I'm sure. Oh, I guess you have to push a button.
There we go. Okay, Madam Mayor, members of council, thank you very much. I want to extend my appreciation for allowing me to give you my initial impressions and plans for the future of HR. It's actually been 6 months and about a week, so it is very hard to believe when it's at times felt like 6 seconds, but in a very good way. So I want to start by saying, stepping into a role like this, having an HR team that exemplifies the values and the purpose and the mission that's set forth by an organization is truly, truly critical in terms of fostering the type of culture and the type of organization that you want to see. And so stepping into this role and really getting an opportunity over the last 6 months to get to know our teams, get to know the work that we do. I found myself delighted to work with the team that models these values that define Boise's commitment to the community. And I see it reflected in their work every single day. And that's a great position to be in as an HR leader. So having been here 6 months, we are starting with a truly solid foundation in HR. Some things I want to talk about today begin with a deep expertise. So as I've spent time getting to know these functional areas and the work that they do, what I'm finding is you have people with a great amount of experience, with a great amount of exposure, with knowledge and skills that really bring quite a bit to problem solving the challenges that we're facing. And I'm impressed on a day-to-day basis with the level of care that each of these team members bring to the table in these situations. Establish partnerships. I'll talk in just a few minutes about some work we're doing with strategic partnerships, but I've also found what's remarkable and when you know something is going right within a particular organization is when you find that your people are being asked to join different problem-solving situations. They're being asked to be a part of different settings that really aren't part of traditional HR work. And I see that every day, leaders being pulled in, employees being pulled in to offer perspective, to offer guidance, because they've built these strong partnerships across the organization. And that's something that's a great foundation, again, to begin with. Timely and responsive service. Moving from the role that I had before I came here, I really truly didn't know what to expect. And what I have found stepping into this department is a strong desire to serve. And so when we're talking about whether it's an employee walking through our doors that has an issue that they need help with, or a leadership meeting where we're trying to solve a difficult issue, there is such a strong desire to deliver and to respond and to be responsive to those needs and to really shine in those settings in terms of we're here to serve, we're here to support, we're here to care. And that's something, again, that I see very commonly throughout this department. And then talking about purpose and passion, compassion, and empathy, which components for human resources, you really can't be a world-class HR organization without these coming from the base of which you do this work. And so understanding that we do this with purpose and we do this because we care about this work and we care about this community and we care about these employees, and doing that with the compassion and empathy, going back to why do we do what we do? And it's been a real delight to really spend time with individuals, spend time with leaders, and get to know what fuels them, what drives them, what motivates them, and then to realize that very commonly that purpose, that passion, that empathy exists in every single one of my team, and that's pretty exciting. So thinking about how we structure HR. And I'm sure every one of you in different settings has worked with an HR organization, and there are various ways that you can structure HR. And I just want to quickly kind of talk about how we're structured in HR and how we're organized. So Angie Hahn oversees administration, and this team supports the full department and includes oversight into budget, personnel records, drug testing, and so much more, not just within HR, but also helps in various areas of the city, and just does a remarkable job ensuring that we're keeping the operations running smoothly day in and day out. Corey Pence with risk and safety. You've seen Christine get up here a multitude of times, and I'm sure Corey has as well, to talk about all the work that goes into this team that helps really keeps our employees, our visitors, residents, and users safe. Carrie Hall right now is working within learning development, and this team is a fairly new team. We have a couple of new folks that I'm actually very excited about, and they're doing some really great work in terms of assessing needs. So stepping back and really asking ourselves, what are the organizational needs today? What are the gaps that we see? What are the challenges? And what's our ability or capabilities to begin to plan what those priorities are and how we can move forward? Amanda Page, she is a new leader over talent acquisition, really working with our team of folks that are constantly looking at how do we attract new talent? How do we bring them into the city? And how do we create those pipelines, which again, we'll talk about in just a moment. Nate Shimatsu is also new to the city. He oversees our HR business partners. And these are the folks that are creating day in and day out these strong fundamental partnerships with our departments, serving and supporting kind of the life cycle of an employee. So from the moment an employee steps through the doors to the time that perhaps they're retiring, these are business partners that are getting to know each department, getting to know their needs, getting to know these employees so that whatever their needs are, those relationships are in place and they feel comfortable coming to these folks and asking for support and care. Sheena Buffy, you saw her get up here just a few weeks ago and talk about total rewards and all of the wonderful work that they're doing within that group. And then Mark Cuna oversees our security team. And this team is responsible for all the physical security aspects of our visitors, of our staff, and helps with community as well. And then one area that's fairly new as we stepped in and really talked about the needs of HR and where we wanted to go. I asked Carrie Hall about what brings you joy, what brings you excitement, what are the things that really fuels you when you come to work. And we really talked about what the needs were within HR and the ability to marry those two things into what we call HR strategy, operations, and analytics, which is ultimately how are we integrated? All of the functions within HR, how do they work together? How do they complement each other? How do we use people analytics? How do we use data to fuel decisions, to drive decisions? And are our processes sound? Or do we have the right things in at the right place? And having somebody that's focused on that work in terms of the projects we choose, the priorities we choose, and how we're supporting each other is a pretty significant role. And so I've been very appreciative to have her step in and be willing to take that. So some early observations that I think are noteworthy, and I would be remiss if I didn't call them out. So again, I talk about the strong foundation that was set up for future growth. And as I stepped in, I noticed some things pretty quickly. Work quality. So, and I'll use payroll as an example. So if things aren't going right with payroll, if people aren't being paid appropriately, I'm hearing about it. Your HR director is hearing about it. If there are specific areas where process isn't followed and things aren't done correctly, I'm hearing about it. And what I noted really quickly is I wasn't hearing any of that. And so as I started to really ask about process and how this works, what I found is that there is a remarkable level of care for accuracy, a remarkable level of care to get it right, to ensure that we're following the processes, that we're doing the work that's right. And so I was stepping in as a leader, it's a really great place then to go, okay, where do you go from there once you know that that sound and those practices are in place? You saw Sheena stand up here and present on total rewards a few weeks ago. That was my other thought as I stepped in here is every organization, your offerings are going to be different to the unique needs of your organization. And whether you're private or public, those are going to look different based on what your abilities are. And stepping into this organization, I was really delighted to see the innovation, the care, the creativity for the offerings that you've created over time that really are a remarkably competitive total rewards package. And so the work that I see going into that is truly noteworthy. Focus on talent. So when I began meeting with leaders across the city in my first few months, I sat down with every EMT member. I asked other leaders across the organization if I could have some time with them just to learn and understand perspective. And one of the common threads that I heard over and over and over again was recruitment really has changed in the last 2 or 3 years. We've seen so much improvement in how we hire. We've seen so much improvement in our ability to hire. I'm still working through what that change has been, but at this point, it's really remarkable to see the focus on process, the focus on how we seek new talent, what we do, and then using innovation, creativity to take us to the next level. Also an area that's really exciting. Established teams, and I'll use security as my example here. So security is a group that began, and you know this probably 6 years ago, started from the ground up and has really created this mechanism of support for the city and a focus on customer service. To the average employee, you don't even know that they're there until you need something, and then they're right there for you. And I see it every single day, the ability to establish the care and be that support system, and people just have faith and trust that it's there. And I saw that very quickly. And then last but not least, change is hard. As you step into any new role, as you make changes to an organization, as you consider new initiatives, change is hard, and people manage it in different ways. And as I've stepped into this role and I've asked for different things and I've asked for people to consider what we could do differently, what I'm finding is even though people work through that change in different ways, there is a strong growth mindset in human resources in terms of their willingness to improve on what exists today. Their open-mindedness to what we've done for 5 years might not be what we need to do for the next 5 years. And we may need to consider the new and the different. And so that, again, is a place in my first 90 days, or in this case, 6 months, where I'm pretty excited to be able to keep moving forward with the team. And then our current priorities. So you've heard from Eric present on ERP, and of course that is a big lift from HR that I think we are very well poised and very capable of. I see the work that's going into that, and I've myself have had experience with that. And while it's a huge endeavor, I think we are well equipped to take this on and do it very, very well. Risk mitigation. So again, I noted that Christina stood up here to talk about all the work that we are doing when it comes to risk and liability and risk and resiliency. And I could spend a great deal of time talking about all of the work that goes into this team, whether it's workers' compensation, insurance, liability, all of the things that we're doing to keep our community and our workforce safe and secure. But there is a team that is very focused on how do we poise ourselves to manage risk proactively rather than reactively. What are the steps that we can take to get in front of issues, to mitigate those issues before they become issues? So workers' comp, as an example, is thinking about the employee and how do we put the employee in the mindset of what's going to hurt me today, and how do I keep myself safe and making them part of that. So there's a lot of exciting work that we're thinking about with that objective. Comp and benefits. There is a slew of objectives that fall under this particular priority when it comes to assessing our competitiveness, ensuring that our jobs are appropriately classified, that we're paying people appropriately, that our benefits are right. There's a lot of opportunity for us to think creatively as healthcare costs are on the rise, as healthcare becomes more and more complex. what can we do to navigate within that framework that better serves our employees? And so the work that we're sitting down and beginning to talk about in all of those different spaces is some great work that I hope that comes to fruition in the next year. Policy handbook, that's something that as I stepped in on day one, I knew was a priority based on the feedback I was getting from my leadership. And I asked Carrie, I said, hey, would you mind printing out the policy handbook for me? And she said, sure, I'll send you a digital version. And I responded, I'm a little bit old school. I'd love to have it in hard copy just so I can read through it and make notes. And she gave me this funny look and she said, okay. And the next day I walked into my office and I found a binder on my desk that was this thick. And it was a little daunting to look at that and go, okay. And what I'm realizing is this is 20 years worth of policy and practice that may not apply to the organization that exists in 2025. And so what we really have to do is consider what are the policies, the practices, the regulations, the things that we need that serve us the best, that serve our employees, and how do we make it as simple as possible? And so there is some really great work that's going into that, and we're partnering with people around the organization to ensure we get that right. Talent acquisition. So we're taking it from the improvement that we've had over the course of the last 3 years that was well underway before I ever stepped into the doors to really considering there's an ebb and flow to how you recruit. And when the economy is in a particular place, it's easier to recruit. And there are times when it's not. And that's going to happen no matter what organization you are. But the key to overcoming that is pipelines. The key to overcoming that is ensuring that in those situations, you have strong pipelines, whether those are internship programs or apprenticeships, or whether those are associations or those are local and regional partners that you're sharing resources with. There's a lot of different ways that you can manage that. And so the opportunity to really understand how can we take what we do today and leverage that, it's really exciting. And then as I talked about learning and development, leadership development, another key area that really came out in all of my conversations with leaders in my first few months of what are the greatest needs of the city. And what I heard over and over again is we need leadership development. And so knowing that we have some momentum within our learning and development group, we need to start with our highest priorities. And so thinking about, what will that program look like? Will it be our early supervisors? Will it be our mid-level managers who are a little bit well-versed but are dealing with more challenging and more complicated issues? Or is that organizational leaders? And so thinking about how we build those programs that are going to best suit the city over time. Those are the things that we're focused on highly right now. And then as with anything, there are always the other opportunities that down the road you are going to want to focus on. And so other things that I'm kind of excited to move the needle on at some point when we've had some wins and we've been able to accomplish some of the objectives that we already have in place. People analytics. This is a place where, if done right, it really does help drive the best decisions for the business. If you know where your data is, you know how to use it, you know how to make it visible, you know how to share it, and you know how to get it in front of people, you're making better decisions every single day. And so thinking about how we use people analytics today, that's pretty exciting to think about all the possibilities. Strategic partnerships. As I'm looking around the city and thinking about how do we better connect, how do we share resources, how do we share knowledge, how do we share our skills and our talents, how do we connect better with the people within our own community and our own walls. There's a lot of opportunity for us to consider building strong strategic partnerships with people all across the city of Boise within this organization. Process and best practice. So this is something that I'll be talking about today. And if I'm here 10 years from now, I'll continue to talk about it. So whatever your process and best practice is, it has to evolve over time. And you have to continue to assess and continue to look at what's in the best interest of your workforce, what's in the best interest of your organization, and how do we adjust? How are we agile to those needs? And how do we continue to look at those things and ensure that the approach that we're taking today is the right approach, and changing when we need to change and adjusting when we need to change or when we need to adjust. And then again, learning and development. As I talked about, there's a lot of needs within the organization, and we're thinking about leadership right now. But as I talk to leaders across the organization and think about the training and the skills and the things that people are asking for, there's so much opportunity for us to really think about what can we accomplish with learning and development? What can we offer our employees? What can we offer? What can we offer our workforce? And so those are some areas that we may not be focused on right now and right this second, but they'll be coming in the as we think about 2026, 2027, and onward. So with that, I want to say thank you so much, Madam Mayor and members of council, for this opportunity to lead this team. I stepped in and I've really been really delighted with the opportunity to be a part of this organization, to take on these challenges, and to do it with a group of people that are so willing and ready to do it with me. So thank you so much, and I'm very happy to take any questions that you have.
Stacy, thank you. I want to, before I open up for questions or comments, I just want to say that I really appreciate how you both jumped in so quickly and provided leadership to a key department in our city, but also have spent so much time learning. And I've heard from employees throughout this organization that they've loved it when you've shown up on site for some of the tours that you've told me about, where you're really visiting all the jobs that make a city. And I know that you're enjoying it. Our employees really appreciate it. And I appreciate that as well. So thanks for your leadership. Really thorough. I can't believe it's only been 90 days with all you've gone through. The great team that Stacy tells me about often, she truly appreciates you. And really just glad that you decided to join the city.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Mayor. Stacy, thank you so much for this presentation. It's so nice to hear how you come in and you recognize the talents of a really great team that's here at the city of Boise. I like your emphasis and focus on making that prioritization of what you'll be working on this coming year, and the emphasis on the analytics as well. Appreciate you again presenting to us and taking care of the great team in HR.
Thank
Thanks.
you, ma'am.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much. And next, there's Nicole. Nicole Carr. Nicole is here to provide an overview of neighborhood associations, how they work, how the city works with them at the request of council. Welcome. Nicole leads our Energize programs.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Today, we'll take a closer look at neighborhood associations in Boise. Like the Mayor said, how they got started, how they work with the city to support our communities, what it means to be officially recognized by the city as a neighborhood association, what benefits come with recognition, and the policies that help guide their involvement. Neighborhood associations have played a big role in shaping Boise's neighborhoods. They help build connections, advocate for local needs, and partner with the city on shared priorities. These volunteer-led groups, formed by residents who live within a defined geographic area, come together to build a sense of community and represent the interests of their neighborhood. They also act as a liaison between neighbors and the city, helping both stay connected. Let's take a look at how it all started and how Boise's approach to supporting neighborhoods has evolved over time. Boise's history of neighborhood associations dates back about 50 years. The first official association popped up in 1976 in the North End, when neighbors came together in response to a wave of historic homes being converted into multi-unit apartments. By protecting the character of their community, it led to new zoning regulations and the creation of the North End Historic District. That energy kept growing and neighborhood associations continued forming through the 1990s. In 1998, Council adopted a resolution to codify the ways in which neighborhood associations would benefit from city recognition by including them in city planning and providing neighborhood investment project funding. A policy was also created to support this resolution and defined the registration process. Fast forward to 2014, and that's when Energize Our Neighborhoods launched. The goal was to take all of that great community energy and give it a boost through funding, resources, and support to help neighborhoods bring their ideas to life. And today we have 30 recognized neighborhood associations across the city. With that history in mind, let's talk about the structure behind it all. The city's policy is an internal document that was created in 1998 and updated in 2008. It's an internal document that outlines how to register a neighborhood association, how to maintain that registration, and what happens if conflicts come up or if a neighborhood wants to reorganize. A public-facing resource can be found in the Neighborhood Association Toolkit, which helps neighbors organize, grow, and sustain an association. This guide includes step-by-step resources designed to set up neighborhoods for success with checklists, templates, and examples. Starting with how to get a new neighborhood association off the ground, the policy outlines an 8-step process. Seen here on the screen, the first step is to check if a neighborhood association already exists. If one doesn't, we ask that 100 addresses with a mixed land use is the minimum that you include in the boundaries. Choosing a public accessible location to host your first meeting, promoting that meeting to get people to attend. During that first meeting, the neighborhood association, or the group, I should say, explains the purpose of the association, votes to form and elects officers. A person is designated to draft bylaws and the articles, and then all of that information gets packaged up and sent to the city so that we can recognize that group. Once a group is registered, the work doesn't stop there. It's about staying active and accountable. To maintain an active status, neighborhood associations are asked to host regular public meetings and submit an annual report to the city. This annual report gives us a snapshot of the association's activities, how they're engaging with its members, and their overall organizational health. It helps us understand how each neighborhood association is functioning, where support may be needed, and how to stay connected with each group. If these requirements are not met, an association may be marked inactive and/or be removed from the city's official registry, which includes GIS map files, our website, and the neighborhood notification lists. Associations may also choose to voluntarily remove themselves if they decide to disband. Each neighborhood is unique and sometimes challenges do come up. That's why it's important for every neighborhood association to have a clear process for dealing with those disputes. The policy recommends that associations include a grievance procedure in their bylaws. While the city does not mediate disputes within neighborhood associations, as these are internal matters that the association itself is responsible for resolving, the city does recognize the most current bylaws on record. It is in everyone's best interest to make sure those bylaws are up to date and include grievance language. We acknowledge that each neighborhood association has varying levels of involvement and capacity. After review, I can report that about 50% of neighborhoods do include grievance language in their bylaws. Occasionally, a group within a neighborhood might feel that their needs are better met by forming their own association. It's important to note that the secession process comes after any attempts to resolve issues through an association's grievance process. While secession might sound dramatic, it's really just about making sure communities are structured in ways that work best for the people who live there. If a neighborhood association wants to change its boundaries, there is a process for that. Maybe the neighborhood has grown or there's been a shift in how people identify with certain areas. This includes a written request to the city so that we can update our files and agreement with all affected neighborhood associations. This also needs to reflect in their bylaws with any boundary changes. While the policy does include boundary changes, it does not address merging neighborhood associations. When a neighborhood association registers with the city, it brings key benefits, including access to grant programs, streamlined communication across city departments, involvement in planning efforts, and annual support through one free park reservation and postcard mailer. Neighborhood associations are an important part in building strong, connected communities, and the city is here to support that. Thank you, and I'll stand for questions.
Madam Mayor, hi Nicole, thanks so much for the presentation. I love that I have some really good neighborhood associations, and I think that there's some really good work happening across the city with neighborhoods associations and building community. I think of like Hyde Park Street Fair and You Stick and Bloom, which I think are some really great community events. I know I guess I'm curious because I know some associations have struggled with boardship recently. I've attended several that have had a tough time recruiting members. So I guess I would encourage the public to, if you're looking for a chance to get involved in your neighborhood, this is a really great way to do that and to create a bridge with the city and better understand, I think, how our processes work and how to get involved. But do you have any goals? Like, is there anything you can share about what you would like to see for the future of the program? Like, in your ideal world, would we be investing further? Would there be more dynamic grants? I mean, like, what do you think is lacking from this program? Or is there anything that we could do to continue to evaluate the progress of it?
Thank you for your question, Madam Mayor and Councilmember Stead. While I do have big hopes and dreams for Energize, I can say after attending a couple of national conferences, we have a very strong and robust neighborhood program here in Boise. And the fact that the city has so much support through those grant programs and the communication channels through our neighbors, it's hard to be selfish and greedy to think about what could be better. I do understand the challenges in recruitment for our boards. And I recently watched the Netflix special Join or Die, or it's a documentary. And so this is it's a common thing that people are not joining clubs and groups and community, and, we're isolated, we're lonely. And so it is something that is seen on a broad level. And so I think finding your people, finding your group, finding something that you're passionate about. I also think that neighborhoods being nonpartisan when it comes to development and goals, and maybe more focused on community building, which is why we support annual picnics, our national night out events, ice cream socials, and things like that.
Madam Mayor.
We'll go with Morales and then Willits.
Right. Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate you presenting. Appreciate you kind of helping us understand how these neighborhood associations might change in the future with some of those dynamics. I would imagine that it's more looking at redrawing boundaries than it is something like secession. But I appreciate that because obviously these neighborhood associations will develop and grow in different ways. And if you look at them, there are some very small ones that do really good things. And then there's some very big ones that operate quite a bit more. And one of those is Southeast Neighborhood Association in my district. So I appreciate that. I wanted to just ask you in terms of the neighborhood investment program that we have, we looked to budget $500,000 towards that program. Obviously, applications for this next budget year are closed, but we'll be accepting them this fall for the next year. Are we spending all of that? Are we having a hard time? Are we looking for more projects? Can you just give us an update on what that's looked like the past couple of years and maybe a rough idea of what it might look like this next year?
Yes, Madam Mayor and Councilmember Morales, our neighborhood investment program paused in fiscal year 24, which allowed us to have a little bit of a buffer with our budget. But I can share that our projects proposed, which are sent in by our neighborhood associations, they applied for projects for FY26 in the dollar amount of $1.6 million. And so the program is alive and well. People are very much wanting to take advantage of those grants and allocate funds toward projects and improving their neighborhoods. So we will be expending all of our budget with fiscal year 24 included.
Announcements to come, council member.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, September 9th is our public announcement for those awards.
Okay.
Very
And then
exciting.
just one more final question, Madam Mayor. In this era, new neighborhoods, new condo associations, I think most people tend to interact more with an owners association because they're paying dues and they're getting letters from them, hopefully good ones. And so have you had any, attending conferences or things like that? Have you seen where there might be more opportunities for neighborhood associations and owners associations to be better connected? Are they kind of connected now? Any thoughts on that?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Morales, there are some neighborhoods that have a really strong e-newsletter that goes out to their residents. However, because our geographic areas for neighborhood associations are so large, it's pretty rare that we have a substantial mailing list for every resident, which is why those annual postcards are so key in reaching every single person within the boundary. So I do think that there is a lot of opportunity for HOAs that already have those communication channels implemented to kind of double down on those efforts to have property management companies or HOA boards work in tandem with our neighborhood associations to expand those mailing lists and expand the reach.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
just to shout out to Nicole. Nicole, thank you for all that you do. I can tell you that when you walk into the room at a neighborhood meeting, the energy goes up 10 points. People are really excited to see you. They know you by name, which I think is remarkable, and they know that you've got their back. So thank you for all that you do in West Boise, particularly for the Centennial Neighborhood Association in West Valley, and just really taking this position on and helping us all be neighbors. It is, I think it's one of the most important positions in the city, and I'm so glad you're in it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Nicole, thanks so much for coming out here today. And I would agree 100% with Councilmember Willits that our neighborhoods are so excited when they see you and so happy to have someone that they can trust and go to at the city of Boise with their questions. I know I've come to you when we've had some neighborhood associations change leadership and what can we do? And I appreciate your responsiveness and working with them as well. I had one question in regards to the trailer that we have. How can you give us an idea of how popular or not popular that is with our neighborhood associations?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Corliss, the block party trailer is available to reserve weekends, May through October, and we do give our neighborhood associations that first right before the public can go onto the calendar on our website. And there are maybe 5 weekends during the season that it is not in use. It goes out on Friday, we deliver it, staff delivers it to the community event, to the party, to the park, and then we pick it up the following Monday. And it is outfitted with all of the things needed to throw a fantastic party: chairs, ice chests, yard games, Bluetooth speaker, shade tents. And each year we try to add more items to the trailer for use. And we recently, our shout out to our graphics team, recently created a new wrap. And so the wrap has been installed just in the last 2 months. So if you see it out, it's very vibrant and colorful and eye-catching. So it is in high demand, that trailer.
That's great to hear. Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Nicole, so much. I really appreciate the work that you do. And Councilmember Willis is right. When you walk into a room, everybody is so happy to see you. And I know that you're so happy to see them. I've seen it myself at various events. And look forward to announcing the neighborhood investment grant winners soon. And over the years, as we've tried to make these investments strategically align with the goals that we have for each of these our districts and neighborhoods in the city, we have really looked to Energize to help guide and facilitate the neighborhood associations in making those grant applications, and then us in making those decisions. And whether it be the cash investments or our staff, the team in CE that goes to events to support the neighborhood associations, the technical assistance you provide, and the party trailer, the basics of the party trailer, all of this really adds up, as you've said, to a city that is rich because of the diversity and connection in its neighborhoods, and the investments and time that our city puts into the people that take care of the neighborhoods. And you are that person with you and your team in CE. So thank you very much. And it's really fun, especially in summer, to be at all these different events and see you and others engage with residents, and our residents engage with you. They really appreciate you, as do I.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you.
And with that, we will take a break until we don't have an executive session, do we? Nope. We'll take a break till 6. Thanks, everybody.